Once again, one and all. So today in this particular video lecture, we will understand the concept and theory of balancing. Now we know that a machine consists of moving parts and the motion of these moving parts may be rotating or may be reciprocating. And these machine parts or components are subjected to different forces. Now these different forces increases the loads on the bearings, stresses in various members. They even create unpleasant and dangerous vibration. Now, in this particular chapter, we will discuss about the balancing of unbalanced forces which is generated due to the rotating and reciprocating masses so that we can minimize the pressure on the main bearings when a corresponding engine is running. Okay. So now, first of all, let us understand what are the forces acting on the components of machine. So basically there are two forces. The first is the static forces. Now the static forces is basically due to the weight of the components. And the second one is the inertia forces, which are also called as the dynamic forces. Now, these inertia forces are basically due to the acceleration of various components of machine. And this acceleration may be due to the change in the magnitude or maybe due to the change in the direction or velocity. Now, such forces, that is the inertia forces or the dynamic forces, are normally not in the equilibrium and it results in the unbalanced resultant force and the couples. And that particular unbalanced force and the couple we have to balance. So that is all about the balancing. Now, first of all, let us understand what is the need of balancing. Now, inertia forces or dynamic forces are very large as compared to the static forces. For if we take an example of a turbine, let us say take an example of a turbine which is running at 3000 rpm and the distance of center of gravity of the rotor from the axis of rotation is 2 mm, that is E is equal to 2 mm. Now already we have understand the concept of rotor dynamics and we have understand what is E and the given speed of a high speed turbine is 3000 rpm. Now let us say that this eccentricity is generated or created maybe due to some imperfect machining or maybe inaccurate pitch of the blades or some non-homogeneity of the materials. Now the resulting dynamic force or unbalanced force, which is also called the centrifugal force, will be equal to Fc is equal to mr into omega square, and this mr into omega square is equal to the mass is given, let us say 1000, mass is 1000 kg multiply by this E is nothing but this R is nothing but the E, which is equal to 2 mm, so 2 upon 1000 in meter, and multiply by this N is nothing but the 3000 rpm, so you can convert it into radian per seconds. 2 pi 3000 multiplied by 60 bracket square. So after calculation I am getting the value of dynamic force or the unbalanced force as 197.339 kilonewton. So after calculation we can understand that this dynamic force is of high order or is having a high magnitude. And if the dynamic forces or the inertia forces are of such a high magnitude, what are the results? Let us understand. So these dynamic forces which are having high magnitude as well as the frequency produces hammering actions, set up vibrations and even can lift the machine from the foundation. Hence, to avoid such unpleasing effect, balancing is very essential. Now, this balancing is the process of eliminating either partially or completely the effects caused due to the resultant inertia forces and the couples which are acting on the machine parts. So we can say that the purpose of balancing is to avoid the vibration of the machine by balancing these resultant inertia forces and couples acting on the machine. This is nothing but the need of balancing. So balancing is highly essential in high-speed applications like electric motors, generators, turbines, pumps, aircraft machinery, etc. So basically balancing is very important in case of the high-speed applications. Right? So now let us understand what is unbalanced system first of all. Now in any system having one or more rotating masses, if Cg of mass does not lie on the axis of rotation, then the system is called as unbalanced, which we have already studied in the rotor dynamics. Okay. Now let us consider this figure of an unbalanced condition. So in this case we can see that this is a rotating mass or a disk maybe let us say having mass of m. Okay, this is let us say shaft which is connected at the two ends with the help of the bearing, and let us say this is the axis of rotation. Now the distance from the axis of rotation to the center of gravity of the rotating mass is nothing but the E. So we can say that this rotating mass which is rotating along the axis of rotation of the shaft means it is rotating along with the axis of rotation, that is along with the shaft, but at an eccentric distance E, that is the CG of this rotor or CG of this rotating mass, it has an eccentric distance E from the axis of rotation. Then this will create the unbalanced condition. This will create the unbalanced condition means what? This will create a centrifugal force or unbalanced force, that is Fc, which will act radially outward away from the center of gravity of this mass. And this unbalanced force or centrifugal force is nothing but the force which creates the unbalanced system. And now we have to balance this system, means what, we have to either completely eliminate this unbalance or we have to either partially eliminate this unbalance. So such a system is called as a unbalanced system. Now this dynamic force or centrifugal force which arises due to this unbalanced condition is given by Fc is equal to m into r into omega square, where r is nothing but the m is nothing but the mass of rotating disk or rotating disk, right? R is nothing but the disk. What is r? Distance of CG from the axis of rotation. So this is nothing but the r in meters, and omega is nothing but the angular speed of rotation in radian per seconds. And this dynamic force Fc acts radially outward direction. I hope you have understand this unbalanced system. Now once you have understand the unbalanced condition, okay, so let us understand what is now static balancing and what is now dynamic balancing. Okay, so we know that in this particular system, which is also called as an unbalanced system, okay, here I will write down the dynamic force Fc is equal to mr into omega square. So this dynamic force is Fc is also called as a dynamic force. I will just write here. Fc is also called as a dynamic force, or you can also call it as a unbalanced force, unbalanced force, or we can also call it as a centrifugal force. So this is equal to m into r omega square, and here m is equal to mass of rotating body. So we have to take it into the kg. R is nothing but the eccentric distance of CG of mass, that is rotating mass, from axis of rotation AR. And last, that is omega, is nothing but the angular speed of rotation. Angular speed of rotation. So now we have understand the unbalanced condition. So now let us understand what is static balancing. First of all, now basically there are two types of balancing. One is the static balancing and second is the dynamic balancing. Now if you look into this particular picture explains you the statically unbalanced system. So what do you mean by the statically unbalanced system? This axis of rotation does not coincide with the axis of CG. Means what, they are both at an eccentric distance E. So the system is said to be statistically balanced if the center of mass, that is a CG, that is axis of CG of the system of the mass, lies on this axis of rotation. Means that your E is equal to 0. Then such a system is called the statically balanced system. Now this system mathematically can be said to be a statically balanced if it satisfies the following condition. The system is said to be statistically balanced if it satisfies the following condition mathematically. The condition is that the summation of dynamic forces, means what? Summation of centrifugal forces acting on the system. So whatever will be the number of maybe Fc1, Fc2, Fc3, Fc4 depending upon the number of masses. So all the centrifugal force acting on the system should be equal to 0. So this condition, if the particular system satisfies, then the system is called the statistically balanced system or statically balanced system. I hope you understand this. Okay. Next is dynamically balanced system. Now the system is said to be dynamically balanced system if it satisfies the following two conditions. The first condition is same, that is a statistically balanced system. The first condition is that the summation of all the centrifugal forces acting on the system equal to 0. So this first condition defines the static balancing, right? So for the system to be dynamic balancing, it should be first statically balanced, and then even if the system is statically balanced, you cannot call it a dynamic balancing because there are couples and forces acting on the system. So you can say that the system is completely balanced or dynamically balanced if it satisfies the condition number 1 and satisfies the condition number 2, that is the couple due to dynamic forces. The couple due to the dynamic forces. Dynamic forces means what? Inertia forces. I am writing in the bracket as I have earlier said that. So the couple due to the dynamic forces acting on the system should be equal to 0, and the centrifugal force acting on the system should be equal to 0, that is the static forces. So both the forces which are acting on the machine, that is static forces as well as the dynamic forces or inertia forces, should be balanced. So now if both these conditions are balanced, the system is called as a dynamically balanced system, and a dynamically unbalanced system will have vibrations induced in it and the system may fail. That is why any system which is either rotating or either reciprocating, it has to be completely balanced. That is, it has to be dynamically balanced. I hope you understand this. Now, let us understand the next concept. That is, now let us understand the first case, that is the balancing of rotating masses. So in this particular model, we'll understand the balancing of rotating masses and balancing of reciprocating masses. So first of all, now understand the balancing of rotating masses. Now, as I have earlier discussed that in any rotating system having one or more rotating masses, if the center of mass of the system does not lie on the axis of rotation, then the system is unbalanced. And we have also discussed that the unbalance in the rotating system is mainly due to the number of factors like errors and tolerances in manufacturing and assembly, non-homogeneity of material, unsymmetrical shapes of the rotors due to functional requirements. Now, when let us take an example of this shaft which is connected on these two bearings, let us say bearing A and bearing B, and now when an unbalanced mass, let us say this M is nothing but the unbalanced mass. This M is nothing but the unbalanced mass, or you can also call it as a disturbing mass. So disturbing mass is nothing but the unbalanced mass. Now we have already understand that when an unbalanced mass is rotating about this axis of rotation, okay, it will create or it will generate a centrifugal force in a radially outward direction. And this centrifugal force is called as a disturbing force. So this disturbing mass, which is at an ascending distance r from the axis of rotation, will create a unbalanced force, that is a centrifugal force, let us say Fc, okay, which is equal to m into r omega square if omega is the angular speed of the mass, right? Now this Fc is called as a disturbing force. Now, if you want to balance this Fc, that is a disturbing force, you can provide the second mass in order to counteract the effect of centrifugal force of the first mass. So, in the same plane, maybe or maybe in the different plane, I will place another mass, and that another mass is, let us say, called as m1, and this another mass, let us say, at a distance r1. So the condition is that you have to provide the second mass in order to counteract the effect of centrifugal force of the first mass, and this process is called as the balancing of rotating masses. So already we have one disturbing masses at an eccentric distance r, and you are providing another mass m, maybe in the same plane or maybe in the another plane. So that we will discuss later in the detail, and this process is called as the balancing of the rotating masses. I hope you have understand this. Now, if you want to balance these rotating masses, so let us understand how will you do the same. So first of all, we'll understand the case number 1. What is case number 1? The case number 1 is balancing of a single rotating masses. Okay, so we will study two cases in this particular model: balancing of single rotating masses and balancing of several rotating masses. So in case number one, we'll understand the balancing of single rotating masses. So consider a single mass M. Let us say this is a single mass M, which is attached to the shaft, and the shaft is connected at the two ends with the help of these two bearings, let us say A and B. And let us say that the shaft is rotating with an angular velocity omega, radian per second. And let us say that r is the distance of the CG of mass m. So this is nothing but the CG of mass m from the axis of rotation, so as shown in the figure. Now, as I have earlier explained that due to the rotation of the shaft, when the shaft will start rotating at angular velocity omega radian per second, a dynamic force or centrifugal force which is equal to m r omega square, that is Fc is equal to m r omega square. So this dynamic force or unbalanced force will act in a radially outward direction, as you can see the arrow over here. So it will act in a radially outward direction. Now this unbalanced force or centrifugal force creates a unbalanced condition. So unbalanced condition means what? It will increase the load on the bearings, it will increase the bending moment on the shaft, and even it will create the vibrations in the system. So this particular single rotating mass we have to balance by placing or by providing the another mass which will counter attack this centrifugal force Fc, that is an unbalanced force. So this is called the process of balancing, and the same thing we will do here in case of the case number one, balancing of a single rotating masses. Okay, so now let us understand how to do this. Okay, so what I will do, so I will place another mass, let us say having a mass m1. Okay, having a mass m1. Now again, in this case, that is a balancing of single rotating mass, we have again the sub case, that is a case number one, a balancing of a single rotating mass by single mass rotating in the same plane. So means we have what we have to do, we have to balance this particular mass m. Now this mass m is nothing but a disturbing mass. So we have to balance this disturbing mass by placing the another single mass which is rotating in the same plane. So let us say this is rotating in the plane A. So this another mass which we will provide to balance the system should also rotate in the same plane, that is a plane A. Okay, so this is a case number one. So we will not provide this balancing mass in another case. So this mass M is nothing but the disturbing mass, we will call it as a, and this mass, let us say M1, let us say M1 is the disturbing mass and M2 is the balancing mass. So what we are doing, we are balancing this disturbing mass by placing the another mass called as a balancing mass, but both in the same plane. So you can see that both are in this particular figure, you can see that both are rotating in the same plane. Okay, so this is case number one. So now let us understand. So consider this again a shaft with the axis of rotation, and let us say the disturbing, this is a disturbing mass m1 which is rotating at an distance r1 from the axis of rotation. So now if you want to balance this single rotating mass, now this single rotating mass will create an unbalanced force. What is the unbalanced force it will create? Let us say Fc1. So now if you want to balance this unbalanced force Fc1, you have to place the another mass, that is a balancing mass, in the same plane. Let us say that the mass is m2 and it is at a distance r2, that is Cg of mass m2 is at a distance r2 from the axis of rotation. Okay, now this m2 will generate again a balancing force which is called as a Fc2 away from the center of rotation of the mass m2, or it will act radially outwards away from the Cg. I hope you have understood this. Now, when you can say that this corresponding system is balanced by the single mass rotating in the same place. So let us say that the centrifugal force by mass m1 is Fc1 is equal to m1 r1 omega square, right? Because Fc1 is nothing but the unbalanced force generated by mass m1 at a distance r1 when this corresponding shaft is rotating at speed omega. And the centrifugal force by mass m2 will be equal to Fc2 is equal to m2 r2 omega square. So now for balancing, What is the important condition? Your Fc1 should be equal to Fc2. So the process of balancing is nothing but to provide the balancing mass which will oppose the disturbing mass, and that is in the equal and opposite direction, right? So this Fc2 should be equal to Fc1 but in opposite direction. So for balancing Fc1 is equal to Fc2, so omega square and omega square are constant, so they will get cancelled. So finally the balancing condition will be M1R1 is equal to M2R2. So when your M1R1 of a disturbing mass is equal to M2R2 of a balancing mass, you can say that this corresponding system is balanced. That is a balancing of a single rotating mass by single mass rotating in the same plane. Now you can split this M2 R2 in any convenient way. For example, you can keep R2 larger and M2 smaller, or you can keep M2 smaller and keep R2 larger. But you can, in any convenient way, you can change the values of M2 and R2. But the condition is that whatever will be the value of M2 and R2, it should be equal to M1 and R1. That is, your Fc1 should be equal to Fc2. Then and then only this corresponding system will get balanced. But this case number 1 or sub case number 1, that is a balancing of a single rotating mass by placing single mass in the same plane, has some limitations. The limitation is that this system will be balanced statically, but it cannot be balanced completely, because this type of arrangement gives rise to couple which tends to rock the shaft in the bearings, and that is why this type of balancing cannot be used practically, right? So what we will do, so we will be using the case number 2, that is the sub case number 2, that is the balancing of a single rotating mass by placing the two masses rotating in the different planes. I hope you understand this. Okay, so how will you balance this? So let us say that if you want to put the system into the, as I said that in the case number 1, when you are balancing the single rotating masses by placing a single mass in the same plane, you cannot completely balance the system, right? So to put the system in the complete balance, the two balancing masses are placed in two different planes, and the important condition is that they should be parallel to the plane of rotation of disturbing masses in such a way that they satisfy the following two conditions. Which condition? The first condition is the net dynamic force acting on the shaft is equal to 0. Now, that is Mr is equal to M1 R1 plus M2 R2. So Mr is nothing but the centrifugal force of, basically centrifugal force is Mr omega square, but omega square is constant, so it will get cancelled on both the sides. So this M1 is nothing but a centrifugal force of disturbing mass. M1 R1 and M2 R2 are nothing but a centrifugal forces which are equal but opposite of the two balancing masses. So this condition is called the static balancing. And as I said earlier that in case number 1 the system is not completely balanced because it is not balancing the couple acting on the system. So the net couple due to the dynamic forces acting on the shaft should be equal to the 0. So this is the second condition. So the conditions 1 and 2 together gives the dynamic balance. Okay. So now let us understand this condition. Now again, in this case number, sub case number 2, that is the balancing of single rotating mass by placing two masses rotating in a different plane. Again we have two sub cases. Let us call this as a sub case number A, when the plane of the disturbing masses lies in between the plane of two balancing masses. So means what? Let us consider this axis of rotation and the shaft connected to the P bearings. Let us say M is the disturbing mass. What is M? M is nothing but the disturbing mass, okay, which is placed at a distance r from the axis of rotation of the shaft. Okay, now we have to, this is a single rotating mass which is rotating at an eccentric distance r from the axis of rotation of the shaft. So you have to balance this single rotating mass. So in the first case we have balanced this by using a single balancing mass rotating in the same plane. So now here we are using a two masses instead of single mass, but in the two different planes. Okay. So let us understand this one by one, case number A and case number B. So first of all let us understand the case number A. So let us say that M1 is the balancing mass which is placed in another plane. Let us say this plane is let me call this plane as a A plane. Okay, so this is a one plane, try to understand. This is another plane, let me call this plane as a B plane. Okay, and this is a third plane, let us say called as a C plane. Now this M1 and M2, these two are nothing but the two different balancing masses placed in the two different planes from this plane of the disturbing masses. So try to understand this. Okay, so now let us say that the distance between the M1 and M2, that is the distance between the two planes, the planes of balancing mass M1 and M2 is L, right? That is a small L or capital L you can consider. The distance between the M1 and M is nothing but the L1, and distance between the N and M2 is nothing but the L2. And let us say these are nothing but the 2 points P, the point in the plane of mass M1, and Q is nothing but the point in the plane of mass M2, just to take a moment so that we can balance the couple. Now let us say this B is nothing but the plane in which first balancing mass lies. C is nothing but the plane. So this B and C are nothing but the planes. Okay. So these are nothing but the different planes. In case number 1, both the planes were same. That is a plane of disturbing mass and plane of the balancing mass were same. But here the planes are different. So plane B is the plane of balancing mass M1. Plane C is the plane of balancing mass M2. And let us say that plane A is nothing but the plane of this disturbing mass N1, N, which we have to balance. Okay. So now what is the condition of complete balancing condition? We have to balance statistically as well as the dynamically. So what is the first condition? The first condition is that we have to statically balance the system, that is MR is equal to M1 R1 plus M2. So you have to place this M1 and M2 at a distance R1 and R2 in such a way that it is M into R is equal to M1 R1 plus M2 R2. I hope you have understand this. So there is no any significance of L here. The L is only important in case of the couple. So this condition is nothing but a static balancing condition. So once this condition is satisfied, you can say that this corresponding system is statically balanced. Now let us understand the second condition. To dynamically balance the given system, you have to take the first of all you have to take the moment about the points in that particular plane. So let us say first of all, taking a moment about the point Q. So whenever you're taking a moment about the point Q means what? Whenever you're taking a moment about the point Q, you can find the magnitude of balancing force in this plane B. Okay? Or you can also call it as a dynamic force acting at this bearing, particular bearing, right? So summation of NQ is equal to 0 will give you the magnitude of balancing force acting in this plane B, right? And when you take the summation of NP is equal to 0, you will get the magnitude of balancing force acting in this plane C, right? So this is all about the one. So let us take moment NQ is equal to 0. So when you are taking summation of NQ is equal to 0, so what is FC1? FC1 is nothing but the centrifugal force due to of this balancing mass M1. So this FC1, which is acting anti-clockwise, and the distance between the M1, that is the FC1, that is a force, and this point Q is nothing but the L. So force multiplied by distance will give you the moment, right? So FC1 into L is equal to FC2. What is FC2? FC2 is nothing but, sorry, FC is nothing but the unbalanced force or centrifugal force of this disturbing mass, right? Now the distance between this FC, that is the force, and the point Q is nothing but a L2, and it is acting clockwise. So I have taken it on the left hand side and the right hand side, that is opposite. Maybe one positive, maybe one negative. So the negative sign will go on if you take it on the right hand side, right? So I am getting the moment as FC1 into L is equal to FC into L2. Now what is FC1? M1 R1 omega square into L is equal to FC2 M R omega square into L. So omega square get cancelled. So the first condition which gets satisfied is M1 R1 L should be equal to M2 R2 L. So let us call this as equation number 2. Let me call this as equation number 1. So what I am getting equation 2? When I am taking a moment about the point Q, I am getting M1 R1 into L is equal to MR into L2, right? So now similarly take the moment about this point P. So when you will take the moment about the point P, you will get the magnitude of balancing force in this plane C. So how will you write Fc2 into L? So summation of P is equal to 0. So this is nothing but a dynamic force Fc2. So Fc2 is acting again like this. That is a clockwise. So distance between the F force Fc2 and this point P in the plane B is nothing but the L. Right? So Fc2 into L is equal to, and again this Fc is acting again like this, anti-clockwise, and the distance is L1. So Fc into L1. So this is how we have to take the moments by considering the point P and Q in the respective plane B and C of mass m1 and m2, as well as we have to take with respect to this m, that is the disturbing mass. So from this I am getting the condition number 3. So let me call this as a 2 and let me call this equation number 1. Okay. So now we are getting 3 conditions. So this equation 1 represents the static balancing of this particular system, and equation 2 and equation 3 represents the dynamic balancing of a system when the plane of a disturbing mass lies in between the plane of the two balancing mass. Means what? This plane A is lying between the plane B and the plane C. Plane A is the plane of disturbing mass, and plane B and plane C is the plane of balancing mass. So I hope you have understand this mathematical or technical analysis behind this. Okay. Now again you have a case number B in this. When the plane of the disturbing mass lies on the one end of the planes of balancing mass. Means what, it is not in between the two balancing masses. So this is also one case, an interesting case. So again let us consider that the axis of rotation, the shaft, this is nothing but a shaft. These are, let us say, nothing but a two bearings A and B. You can call these two bearings. Now this M is nothing but a disturbing mass. M is nothing but a disturbing mass. Now this M, which is called as a disturbing mass, will create a disturbing force or unbalanced force, which is equal to Fc is equal to M into R into omega square, because R is nothing but a distance from the axis of rotation. Okay. Now let us say that this is plane A, and in the plane B, which is again a different plane, I am placing the balancing mass M1, and in the plane C, I am placing the balancing mass M2. Try to understand this case. Okay. So now here you can see that this plane of a disturbing mass, that is M, lies on the one end of the planes of balancing mass B and C. So this M is, plane A is not lying between the plane B and the C. I hope it is clear to all of you. Okay. So now let us say this distance is L, M1 and M2 distance is L, let us say, and distance between the M and M1 is L1, and distance between the M and M2 is L2. The same distance I have considered in the case number A. Okay. Now this system, let us again, Q is in the, Q and the P are nothing but the points in plane C, B, and let us say this plane is A plane. So you can see that this plane A, that is a plane of disturbing mass, is lying at the one end. B is nothing but a plane of balancing mass M1, and C is nothing but a plane of balancing mass C. So P and Q are nothing but the points in the plane B and C. Okay. So now let us take the first condition. So what is the first condition in this case? The first condition in this case is that, now in this case, the condition of static balancing is your Mr, that is Fc plus Fc2, is equal to Fc1. Why? Because you can see that this Fc is upward, then this Fc2, that Fc2 is also upward, and M1R1, that is Fc1, is downward. So let us see, if I am considering downward as a negative and upward as a positive, so you can shift this minus M1R1 to the left hand side. So basically this is like Mr plus M2R2 minus M1R1 is equal to 0. So I can write like this also, and I can write in this fashion also. So I hope you understand this. Okay. Now let us take the moment about the point Q. So summation of MQ will give you, so I will write here, so this is the force Fc, this is the force Fc2, Fc1 sorry, and this is the force Fc1. Okay. Now what this equation will give, what this moment will give, summation of MQ is equal to 0. So you have to take the moment about this point Q. So it will give Fc1, what is Fc1? Yes. So Fc1 into this distance L. So Fc1 is acting like this about this point Q. So it is acting anti-clockwise. Is equal to Fc into L2. This Fc is acting like this clockwise, and the distance between the Fc and this Q is nothing but the L2. So we're getting this first equation. So Fc1 is nothing but the m1 r1 omega square into L is equal to m r omega square into L2. So from this I am getting this as equation number 2. Let me call this as equation number 1. You know, this is upward, and this is downward. So I have taken this to the right hand side. Okay. And the third condition. What is the third condition? Summation of NP. So summation of NP means what? Let us take moment about the point P, so we can get the magnitude of balancing force in this plane C. And summation of NQ will give you the magnitude of balancing force in this plane B, as I have discussed earlier. So what I will get here? Fc2 into L is equal to Fc into L1. Similarly, right? I can write here, if this is, let me take a color pen. If this is the Fc, this is Fc1, and let us say this is Fc2. So taking moment about the point P, so Fc1 will become 0 because it is passing, because the distance is 0 passing from the same point. So for MP is equal to 0, Fc2, which is acting like this anti-clockwise, Fc2 into distance between this point P is nothing but the L is equal to, and Fc is acting like this, it is a clockwise, distance between the Fc and point P is nothing but the L1. So from this I am getting this third equation, that is m2 r2l is equal to mrl1. So this equation number 1 represents the static balancing, and equation number 2 represents the dynamic balancing of a system. So the concept and the mathematical relations only changes, the concept is same. So this is how you can balance a single rotating masses, or you can also call it as a disturbing masses. I hope you have understand this. Okay. So till now we have understand the case number 1. We'll just revise before stopping. So we started with the case number 1. The case number 1 is balancing of single rotating mass. So how we normally balance a single rotating mass? By placing the another mass in the same plane. So this is nothing but a sub case number 1. So balancing of a single rotating mass by placing a single mass rotating in the same plane. Then by balancing, by placing a single, balancing a single rotating mass by placing a single mass rotating in the same plane. This is the case number 1. When we have understand this, then balancing of a single rotating mass by placing two masses rotating in different places, and in this we have two cases. You can keep the plane of disturbing masses in between the planes of two balancing masses. So let us say this is a A, and this is a B, and this is a C. So C is between A and B, and the second sub case which we have understand is nothing but this plane A, that is a plane of disturbing mass, is lying at the one end from M1 and M2 planes. Okay, so this is the another case, and in the next lecture we will understand the case number 2, that is a balancing of a several masses rotating in the same plane. So I hope you have understand this. Thank you.